Well, welcome along to the Time From Sporting Life Weekend preview. David Orr, joined by Ben Linfoot and Kevin Clark, to look ahead to the feature action at Ayr and Newbury. Let's start at Ayr, the Virgin Bet Ayr Gold Cup. Kevin, one of the big betting heats of the entire season, this one. It's expected to be tight on time farm ratings. We're going to have those up on the screen now. Is this what you're expecting to see? Yeah,
it's really competitive, isn't it? 180 grand in the prize fund this year. You've got Orazio, who heads the ratings, the least exposed in the field. Looked a potential group horse when he won earlier in the season twice, didn't he? He's been sent off since at 7-2 favourite and 100-30 favourite for the Wokingham and the Stewards Cup. Potential excuses in terms of the track position at Ascot. He maybe found the ground a bit too heavy at Goodwood when plenty of Ds were against him. I think that's a key piece of form, isn't it, as we'll see in a minute. He obviously just has the ratings ahead of Rohan, who on his best form should have a bit of a chance, but he's not really been in that sort of form this year, has he? And then Juan Lepan, who is well in at the weights, he's having a terrific season. You've got the Portland form with significantly Ali's Dancer representing Kevin Ryan. He's won this 5 times. He obviously likes to lay one out. And then you've got a few bigger prices there in the ratings as well. Northern Express and Montasib back down in trip. And an old favourite of your scoop, Mr. Wagyu, there at the bottom.
Grand old horse he is.
Grand old horse he is, and a grand old horse who ran in what's going to be one of the crucial video clues that we've got available for this race. It's another big spin handicap scoop. This is the Stewards Cup. Mr. Wagyu and Bielsa are 2 of those you're taking from it.
Yeah, Mr. Wagyu, you can spot him right in the middle of the screen in the orange cap. It gives a lovely toe to the winner, Ayr Gold here. But runs a fine race himself, as he has done all season, really. He's not won a race this season, but he's been very consistent. The handicap has got him on 95. He's not dropping him from that, and he just maybe looks a little bit vulnerable. Bielsa, you're going to see him towards the near side. There he is, in the noseband.
On cue.
Running on into 4th place, just pipping Mr. Wagyu on the post. And we know Bielsa loves a big field handicap like this. He won the Ayr Gold Cup a couple of years ago. Interestingly, he won that off 98. Mr. Wagyu was 3rd in that renewal off 99. And Bielsa was 14th last year. Mr. Wagyu 5th off 104. So purely from a handicapping perspective, Mr. Wagyu looks the one that's got a better chance at the weights. Bielsa off 99 this year, Mr. Wagyu off 95. So of the 2, I much prefer John Quinn's horse. They're both about a similar price. If there's any match bets going anywhere, I'll be siding with Mr. Wagyu. But I do think he is vulnerable from a win perspective, because he's been knocking on the door off this handicap mark all season and not quite doing it. And I think there might be 1 or 2 who might just beat him once again.
Kieran, 3 from that Stewards Cup as well that you want to talk us through.
Yeah, I'll start with Ali's Dancer, who was 5th. He fared best of those on the far side. One thing he'll love is the ground, and it's good to soft currently. I'm not too.
Do you think it's soft enough for him?
But that is the potential issue. There's not much rain forecast. He'll give Shane Gray a lovely toe into it. He's drawn on the far side. We'll see in a minute. He's got to be respected. I think the way he's shaped there, I won't be surprised if he's bang on the scene. He's definitely from the right yard, isn't he? They definitely like to lay one out for this, the Kevin Ryan yard. He's on a fair enough mark. He won at Doncaster off 93. He's here off 95. £1 lower than the Stewards Cup. He's probably about the right price, about 12-1, isn't he? Obviously, Ayr Gold won that race. He just seems to be a bit vulnerable for 100, doesn't he? He's
gone off the boil a bit, hasn't he?
Won at York as well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and significantly, was 2nd in the Portland. I think this is a much stronger race than that Portland, though. I thought it was a pretty weak race for all. He ran quite well. And the Judy Camacho yard, there has been signs of coming right back to form. They've had a few finish 2nd in the last week, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was on the scene. But again, at 10-1 in a stronger race than last time, I'm probably happy to take him on as well. I think from that Stewards Cup form, I think Juan Lepan had excuses, Orazio had excuses, and then the 2 you mentioned, Scoop, they're probably the key ones from there, I think.
Let's have a look at the pace map. It's always an intriguing view for a race like this. We're going to try to work out when you're low, middle or high. You look at that, chaps, where do you want to be?
Well, on the far side, with the low numbers, you've got Lethal Levi, who is a perennial front runner, and he's got a first-time visor on as well. So you do think if that perks him up a little bit, you do think he's going to make the pace on the far side, especially drawn next to Pause for Thought, who's another front runner. So amongst the low numbers, those are the 2 that you do think are going to drag the rest of the far side into things. Near side, that dot about Mr. 5 Wagyu from the bottom on the right hand side is Mr. Wagyu, who we know likes to go forward, and he looks the key pace angle on the stand side. And there's a couple of horses amongst the stand side runners that really do need a strong pace. Rohan being one of them, and Northern Express,
yeah,
who we know stays further than 6. He's going to want a real good gallop at this trip to get into things. So those two, they need a strong pace on the near side.
The one thing about the draw, last 5 winners, 21, 24, 13, 25 when Bielsa won it solo on the near rail, and 12. And it all depends on where they go, because sometimes they actually shun that near rail, but potentially I can see them going into 2 groups, one towards the centre far side and one against this near rail. I don't know if you've got similar.
I think we'll see a definite split.
Now, one of your colleagues, I won't name them, one of our colleagues was asking me about Jean Lepins earlier today. It took me ages to work out it was Juan Lepan was a horse that they were referring to. We've got video evidence of him in action at York. Ben, lots of money for this horse off the back of this, and he is well handicapped, isn't he, potentially?
Yeah, he's in the red cap there, in the white and black silks. Travelled into this nicely, and then stayed on well, coming through a gap here to finish second in the end in a listed contest where he beat a handful of 100+ rated horses. Now that makes him of interest back in handicap company off a mark of 98, because he is officially £8 well in. He ran in the Ayr Gold Cup last year and finished a good third, but that was off a mark of 92, and he is off 98 this year, so £6 higher. He's improved since then. I think he's got a massive chance. He's been well found enough in the market. I think he's around 8-1 favourite at the time of recording, and I just think he's skinny enough for me to let him go, but yeah, I think he's got an obvious chance.
Kevin, we can't leave this race without a line on Summergand, who was bidding to make history from top of the shop. Yeah,
an absolute old favourite for everyone. This is his time of year. He obviously dead heated in that race at York that he won last year. He then came on to win this last year, but he is higher in the weights this time around. He ran okay in Ireland, didn't he? He was 4th to Big Gossie. I just think the handicappers caught up with him. That Great St Wilfred he ran in, yes, it's worked out quite well, but again, for a top-end handicap, it lacked horses around that 100 mark, where this is chock full of them. Quick mention on Bielsa as well. He hangs right and he's drawn 1. Could be absolute chaos.
That's a good point, that.
If if he's in with any sort of chance, he might just take a bit of steering. But he'll be there about Summergand. But again, he's towards the head of the market, and I just think he's the right price.
Selection time, punchy selection time. Ben Linfoot, what's your punchy selection?
Well, I'm going to go with one we haven't mentioned.
That's the spirit. That's what this video is designed for.
You don't even know what it is.
Oh, sorry.
And you've nailed it with the name, Magical Spirit.
There you go.
For Kevin Ryan, who is going for his 6th win in the Ayr Gold Cup, obviously a trainer who targets this race. And this horse looks your archetypal Ayr Gold Cup horse. He's won the Silver Cup off a mark of 88. He was 4th off 94 in the Silver Cup a couple of years ago as well. And I like how he's been campaigned this year. I think he's an autumn horse these days. He always seems to come alive in the autumn. He's been given a couple of months off, just like Bielsa was for the same yard when he won the Ayr Gold Cup. But his form earlier in the season at York is good. He's got a £6 pull with Bielsa on the run-in at the Dante meeting. He travelled really well in the York race won by Aberama Gold when he was last seen in July. And I just think after that, Kevin Ryan's put him away for an Ayr Gold Cup tilt. And here he is, and he's 25-1. So he is the one for me at the prices.
Kevin, your vote?
I think Orazio's a good bet at 8, Steve. I can see him getting smashed into 9-2 again. To go off that short into Heritage Handicaps already this season, he hasn't quite got the job done, but he won off a £8 lower mark at Ascot early in the season in soft ground. He was very impressive, and I think we could be talking about a Group 1 horse this time next year, potentially.
Well, if there is a group...
And Ben Linfoot laughed there, so if we can make sure we record this.
No, I'm agreeing with you, because if there is a group horse in the race, it is Orazio.
He reminds me of Nahar that won it a few years ago. He just might be a bit better than some very solid battle-hardened handicappers. But
you could be a Group 2, Group 3 horse in this race and get beat quite easily, couldn't you?
True, but he might be better than that.
We shall see.
We'll find out. Talking of Group 2s, we've got the Dubai Duty Free Mill Reef Stakes at Newbury on Saturday for the 2-year-olds. Kim, we've got the time form ratings for this. 7 questions, top of the shop. Have you got any question marks against this one?
No, he's pretty solid, isn't he? He ran into one of Chubmont's when he was 3rd at Ripon that goes for the middle part. That looks potentially good form. He was then 2nd in the Sardinia Stakes at Kempton when he beat a Rare. That could be a key piece of form here. You've got Mr. Sketch. He was very, very impressive, wasn't he, when he won at Salisbury on paper. He's got plenty going for him. Matters Most was in front of 7 questions at Ripon, yet finds himself, he's 7 questions is 7-2. Matters most is 9-1. So potentially a bit of a value play there. Hartum obviously won at Goodwood, beat Iberian, then flopped in the gym crack. And Red Zone Hero, I did a time form report for him last week. He was deadly impressive at Doncaster in a really good time. Steps up from Nursery Company, but he's 2 from 2 on soft ground. And he looked like he could be maybe not quite group class, but at least listed class last time. He potentially could be one to take them along with Matters Most. But it's quite a good mill, Reef. It maybe lacks a Group 1 performer, and that's maybe because the Middle Park's only next weekend, isn't it, this year? So there's only a week between them, so a few might have swerved this. But yeah, it's quite a deep contest, I think. Obviously, Mr. Sketch is the least exposed, which we'll touch on. Yeah,
he's the exciting one, isn't he? Now in the Wattenham Racing Silks for Eve Johnson Houghton. We've got the video of Mr. Sketch's last win. So I suppose the question about this is, how much is this style over substance?
Yeah, he is in the Norman Court colours here, the yellow with the black cap. As you can see, he's travelled beautifully into it and just run away with them. A really impressive performance. You can see why he's got that time form P, can't you? Because he runs a little bit green here in the closing stages, but still wins by over 9 lengths. So there's obviously the chance that there's plenty more to come from this horse. I think there is a bit of substance to it. It was a good time, certainly over a second quicker than Division 2. That was half an hour later on the card. The horses in behind haven't really come out and franked the form, but he was miles clear of them, so probably worth ignoring that.
Do you think he's a bit skinny at 11-4, considering what the others have already... He's priced up like he's already as good as them.
He is to an extent, but I think he's the one horse in the field that could be a really good horse in time.
True. Yeah.
Whereas we know plenty about the others already, don't we? They're fairly exposed, but he's only had a couple of runs, and he could just end up being plenty better than these. So I completely get why he's the price he is at the top of the market. The ground's a question mark. It's heavy ground at Newbury. Plenty of rain on Wednesday. He's not run on ground this soft before, but he's a son of territories, and you would think on breeding he would be fine on conditions.
So they're the leading players in the Mill Reef. Selection time. I'll let you go first, Kevin. I looked at you, Ben. What I said, Kevin, that was a trick.
I quite like Array in this, Dave. I think he'll overturn that Cyrenia form. He got beat on his debut by Starlust, who obviously won that race as well. He then won his next 2. He was really impressive in what looked a potentially deep contest at Newmarket. He was then 3rd at Kempton. I think the return to a straight track will really suit him. And the Dame Joyeuse, she was a winner in soft ground in a listed race, so I think the ground will be fine. He looks to have quite a bit of a knee action. I think 11-2. Oisin Murphy on board for the first time since his second start, and Andrew Baldwin remains in fine form, doesn't he? So I thought the prices he was the one. I think Red Zone Hero and Matters Most will go from the front. I do think Red Zone Hero could get a place about 8-1, but I just think Array is the value at the prices for me.
One vote for Array.
I'm going to go with Mr. Sketch. I didn't think I would earlier in the week, but his price has held up for me. And although 7 questions is probably the danger, proven on the ground, plenty of experience, quite a hardy horse who will knuckle down for you in a fight, I think Mr. Sketch might just be too good.
Well, there you go. There's Ben and Kieran's thoughts on Saturday's big race action. We're back next week for a double header. We have one preview looking ahead to the Cambridgeshire card at Newmarket, and of course for Sunday, the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe at Paris Longchamp. So 2 videos next week, just the one this week. Hope you enjoyed it, and best of luck with your own weekend bets.